Hello everyone, and welcome to another Pyro Gaming video. Over the past couple of weeks here on this channel, you guys have been asking me what my favorite exotic armor is for the Titan, Warlock, and Hunter, what my favorite exotic weapons are, what my favorite class builds are, and so on and so forth. And I've been trying to make those videos because you guys keep requesting them. And another one that I get pretty often is, what are your favorite artifacts? So that's what we're going to be taking a look at in this video, guys. I'm going to be showing you my 5 favorite artifacts and why. And we're going to go ahead and get right into it with the Memory of Radagast. The Memory of Radagast artifact is for all of you out there that enjoy using an exotic sword, which I definitely do. You can see that I have all 3 of the exotic swords on each of my characters. I definitely love my swords. But what this does is you gain the ability to reflect energy-based projectiles when guarding with a sword, and you have an increased sword ammo capacity. Now, if you use this right, this is a deadly, deadly artifact. So I'm going to show you real quick on Raised Lighter. You can see that I typically run Scabbard on my Raised Lighter because I like to carry 81 rounds, or 81 swipes for my sword. With the Memory of Radagast, what I can actually do is I can put on Warrior of the Light and increase damage for your R2 attack, and then I can actually go Thrive by the Sword, and kills with this sword grant super energy, and this is going to allow me to have the bonus damage on my sword, and because I can carry more sword ammo, I can actually carry 88 swipes. So it compensates for this. And if I wanted to keep Scabbard, I can carry, I think it's 101 swipes with your sword with the Memory of Radagast. So it definitely is a very, very handy artifact. This is going to come in handy the most in things like last week's Nightfall. It was Void Burn on the Scion Flares. This was a great artifact to use for that. Give you that extra Dark Drinker ammo. This is going to come in handy on things like the Raid. When you're fighting Axis with your Dark Drinker, this is going to allow you to do the more damage and carry the more sword ammo with it. All in all, it is a great, great artifact. I don't really care too much about the blocking and reflecting energy-based projectiles. I mainly use this because it's like rune wings for the sword. It's really good. So that's my number 5 artifact. Moving on to number 4, we have Memory of Fellwinter. Now, Memory of Fellwinter, you'll notice that the discipline and strength stats are super high. And if I equip this, you can see that my stats go way up. And the reason being is because when you equip this artifact, you lose your super, but you gain an extra grenade and melee charge, and you get small boosts to all stats. Orbs may grant melee and grenade energy. So by losing your super on this, this is the equivalent to running back in Call of Duty. You could do that one kill streak option where you got extra perks instead of an actual kill streak to get kills. This is the equivalent to that in Destiny. So the applications for this, it's really good in Crucible, especially if you're running a Titan or you're running a Hunter where you're only going to get maybe 1 or 2 kills with your super anyway. You're much better off having that extra grenade and extra melee and having a boost to all your stats. You combine this with something like the Dune Marchers on the Titan, and you have a Titan that is so fast and agile, it is ridiculous. So that's why this is my number 4. This is definitely one of my favorite artifacts. I love it. Moving on to number 3, we have Memory of Joel Dur, removes sprint cooldown penalty. I get the most use out of this when I am on a Night Stalker Hunter. On a Night Stalker Hunter, I like to use Shade Step. This makes it so that I don't get that sprint lock after I Shade Step. I can just Shade Step and keep running, Shade Step and keep running. Another really useful application for this is if you're a Titan and you like to Titan skate with Twilight Garrison, this is going to remove your sprint lockdown. You're just going to be able to keep running and running and running without having to slow down and walk for a few seconds. The applications for this are going to be stuff like jumping puzzles in the raids. I know that you're not running when you jump, but that has killed me a few times, especially in Kingsfall. Like, I tried to run to the next thing, and I accidentally messed up, and he just walked right off the edge. If you're like me, when you go into a strike, you don't like to sit there and take the time to kill every single enemy if you don't have to. I like to run past a lot of the enemies in this game. So that is where this thing is really going to shine. Another good application for this would be to pair it on the Hunter with the Frost EE5 boots. Because when you're running, you get increased melee and grenade recharge. So that's another great application for this. So moving on to number 2, and actually prior to this week, this wasn't even in my top 5, but now it is definitely in my top 5 because I did a video about it on Monday, and that is the Memory of Scory. Now, the reason that this is my number 2 all of a sudden, when last week it wasn't even in my top 5, is because I had no idea just how fast this thing gives you a super back. If you would like to see exactly what this thing can do, I will link Monday's video in the top right corner of your screen right now. Click that card and go watch it and just see how crazy Scory can be. It definitely needs a nerf, guys. I'm not even lying. But with this right here, it is a team perk, or it is a team artifact. So you're not directly gaining anything from this, but your teammates are. They're getting their super back a lot quicker. If somebody else on their team is using one, you're just kind of you're just kind of trading supers back and forth. It's a really good support perk. I will use this if I'm using something like Defender, like I have right now on my Titan. I will use this if I'm using something like Night Stalker or something like that. And I will definitely use this if I'm on a self-res Warlock, because on a self-res Warlock, I'm not going to be using my super unless I absolutely have to. So because of that, I might as well share the wealth with my fire team and help them get their super back faster. So all in all, this is a really good artifact to have, and I would definitely recommend it. But it's not my number 1. My number 1 artifact, guys, we're going to go ahead and take a look at it. It's got to be the Memory of Gillian. The Memory of Gillian grants a detailed radar. The radar persists when aiming down sights with a primary weapon. This is the equivalent to having Keen Scout on the Voidwalker Hunter subclass, but on every single class all the fucking time. This artifact has made that perk completely obsolete. It has made the Hunter's Knucklehead Radar completely obsolete. And it's just, oh my god, it's such a great perk, man. It'll highlight planetary materials on your minimap. It'll highlight chests on your minimap. It's just all around really good, man. Really, really good. This is my go-to artifact for both PvP and PvE. I use it more in PvE than Crucible, honestly. Sometimes in Crucible, I will throw on the Fellwinter. But this one is just invaluable. It has so many applications. It's going to allow you to know what's going on around you. It's going to allow you to know when you're getting snuck up on, if there's like a cursed thrall sneaking up on you or something like that. You're going to see it on the radar before you die. And it's just, it's too good, man. It's too good. The applications where this thing is really going to shine, really, really going to shine, honestly, pretty much anywhere. Any kind of Crucible game mode, it's always good to know where the enemy is. If you see an enemy on your radar with this, you can aim down sights with your primary around the corner that you know they're about to come around, and you can pick them off and get first shot on them. And in Crucible, that is very, very important, is getting first shot. In PvE, I mean, you put this thing in a Nightfall, you put it in a raid, you put it in just a regular strike, you put it in a story mission. It's going to help you out exponentially. The raid specifically, when you're fighting Axis, depending on where you're standing, the servitors can kind of sneak up behind you. The Shanks can kind of sneak up behind you. This prevents that from happening as often. So it's just all around a great artifact, and this is the one that I'm using 95% of the time. Now, it goes without saying, if you're doing a Nightfall and Chaff is on, where your radar is disabled, don't use this. Honestly, I see so many people using Memory of Gillian in an activity that has Chaff and radar is disabled. That's a waste of an artifact slot. Put on something else. But there you have it, guys. Those are my top 5 artifacts. I'll go ahead and tell you my thoughts on the remaining 3. We have Memory of Pern, enemy guardians with full supers, and all enemies with low health are highlighted. This is going to be my number 6 artifact. It's pretty good in certain situations. It's better in the Crucible than it is in PvE. It's also pretty good in the raid. A lot of the enemies in the raid are really high level, so if they're like one shot and they hide around a corner, you can kind of track them, keep an eye on them. It does have its applications, but in my opinion, not as often as this one does. Next up, we have Memory of Silumar. In the Crucible, resistance to damage over time attacks is greatly increased. With the new changes that they made to hand cannons, I imagine that you're going to see Thorn popping up in the Crucible a lot more in the near future, so I expect to see a lot more people using this one. But obviously it says in the Crucible, so this is not a PvE artifact, so me being not much of a Crucible guy, I don't get a lot of use out of this. And lastly, we have Memory of Temir. Melee attacks on minions of the darkness have the chance to temporarily turn the target against its allies. I think that this is the most pointless and most annoying fucking artifact in this entire game. You go into something like Archon's Forge, where you have to kill a certain amount of enemies to trigger the next wave, and you have some asshole running around meleeing all these enemies and making it to where you can't kill them, because they have the little shield and they're working for them, and it's just not good for anybody. I mean, best case scenario, you melee a knight and that knight kills maybe a fucking thrall. It's honestly, I feel like this is completely pointless. It sounded really cool when Rise of Iron first came out. This was the one that I was honestly most excited about, second to this one. And it was just such a letdown, man. I was like, this is so annoying. I just hate it. But anyway, that's going to wrap up this video, guys. There you have it. This is my number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I actually keep them in order on all of my characters so that I know I need to switch to number 4, I need to switch to number 6, whatever the case may be. That's number 6. But yeah, I'm OCD and I keep everything ordered a certain way. But that's going to bring this video to an end, guys. If you enjoyed it, click like. If you're new to the channel, click subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, I fucking love you. Thank you for watching. Take care, guys.